Oil prices are holding strong. WTI crude 41.19, Brent crude 43.25. I'm Sean Pruitt, president of Kingdom Exploration. If you like oil and gas news, this is the channel for you. Please subscribe. I also talk about oil well investments. The oil price is stuck at 40. That's a great question. Well, yes, they are. And for good reason. Saudi Arabia and Russia have joined forces to control and manipulate oil prices, and their goal is to take out U.S. shale. Okay, so we can look at all this data, all these graphs, U.S. oil production. As you can see here, from 2016 all the way to 2019, we hit a peak here at 13 million barrels a day roughly, and now we dropped about 2 million barrels a day. Okay, and now you can see here there's a little uptick here. Quite simply, the U.S. shale is bringing unfinished wells back online, and some of the wells that they shut in, they're bringing them back online. But U.S. shale has a very fast decline. Okay, if you don't understand U.S. shale and decline and in the actual formation itself, watch some of my past videos. So none of these graphs matter. Okay, what matters is what Russia and Saudi Arabia are doing. What they're doing, they're trying to keep U.S. shale out of the profit zone. And in order for U.S. shale oil wells to break even, they need $60 oil. So as long as they keep oil prices around $40, $50 a barrel, they could keep U.S. shale out of the game. And that's their goal, and they're doing a good job of doing it. Is the bottom finally in sight for U.S. shale, U.S. drilling rigs? Baker Hughes reported on Friday, number of oil and gas rigs in the U.S. fell again this week by 2 to 251, marking the 20th straight loss in the number of active rigs. Total oil and gas rigs are now sitting at 695 fewer than this time last year. So we lost almost 700 rigs in 12 months. Unbelievable. The number of oil and gas rigs increased by 1, according to Baker Hughes data, bringing the total to 181 compared to 776 active rigs this time last year. That's incredible. The oil and gas industry has shrunk tremendously in the U.S. Total number of active rigs in the United States fell this week by 3 rigs, landing at 68 total rigs. This compares to 169 rigs a year ago. And then they go on to talk about United States is still 2 million barrels a day less than the all-time high for U.S. production. So since COVID-19 hit and the oil price war between Russia and Saudi Arabia hit, we've dropped oil output by 2 million barrels a day. And so you're going to see that increase substantially much more as far as the decrease in production, because shale oil cannot maintain these high numbers without having a lot of active rigs drilling brand new shale wells. Okay, I'll talk more about that later. Will U.S. shale ever see another golden age? Perhaps of unpaid debt, unsympathetic banks and investors, slow oil demand, and looming bankruptcies. This is the landscape in U.S. shale oil right now. Okay. Now, according to industry vet Art Berman, the U.S. energy dominance agenda is dead. Berman expects oil production to drop by as much as 50% over the next 12 months. Now, I appreciate Art Berman. He cuts through the BS. He's not a journalist. Journalists, they want to get your attention. They throw something out there to get your attention. Okay, that's why I like Art Berman. That's why I like Novak for Russia. They just shoot straight. Okay, they're not interested in getting clicks. They're interested in telling the truth. And he's a geologist. He knows what he's talking about. So Berman expects oil production to drop by as much as 50% over the next 12 months. Okay, that's losing another 5 million barrels a day. Okay, and not because of low oil prices, but because of the number of idled drilling rigs. The U.S. tight oil shale rig count has fallen 69% this year from 539 in mid-March to 165 last week. Tight oil production will decline 50% by this time next year. So tight oil production, in other words, U.S. shale oil. Okay, he's not talking about conventional, all right, by this time next year. As a result, U.S. oil production will fall less than 8 million barrels a day by mid-2021. 8 million barrels a day drop decline, okay? Russia, Saudi Arabia, This is their plan. This is their goal. Okay. Berman wrote in an article for oilprice.com, adding, what if rig count increases between now and then? It won't make any difference because of the lag between contracting drilling rigs and first production. But to start returning drilling rigs, the field shale drillers need to have the cash to pay the operators of the rigs. Moreover, they need to have certainty they would be able to sell new oil at a profit. Right now, they have neither. So in other words, they don't have the money to bring the rigs back to an active state. Okay, they do not have the cash. We don't have enough active rigs to maintain the shale oil output, and so that's why he believes by 2021 we're going to drop 8 million barrels a day output, and he's right on the money. He's been shooting us straight for years. Okay, and so what's going to happen in 2021 if we lose 8 million barrels a day? Russia, Saudi Arabia are going to make a lot of money, okay? And oil prices are going to be back upwards of the triple digits like we're used to seeing, okay? Now, and so I wanted to read a few more articles here. Banks shun loans to U.S. shale drillers. A growing number of banks are restricting access to funding to the U.S. shale industry in the wake of the oil price crash, although the aversion to lending more capital to losing U.S. shale operations was already evident before the pandemic and the Saudi-Russian oil price war. The banks have lost faith in U.S. shale. We already knew this, and they're just talking about, it's like we know this thing is going to run into the glacier and this boat is about to sink. So we're just talking about it now, okay? We know it's going to happen, okay? So the news has not been very exciting because, hey, U.S. shale oil output is dropping. U.S. rig count is dropping. COVID-19 is sapping oil demand. It's going up. It's going down. And oil prices are sitting around $40 a barrel. Not very interesting, okay? But when it's really going to get interesting is when shale starts to really decline. Okay, because they're starting to pump oil again. Okay, and so that's why we're seeing an artificial increase in production, but eventually it's really going to start to decline. Okay, and they're not going to be able to hide behind it, and they don't have the rigs to maintain the output. I want to read one last article here. I love Novak, quite simply. He doesn't care what anybody thinks. He just tells it like it is, and he has access to a wealth of oil and gas wisdom and news and stats. And so when he says something, he's right on. Okay, Russia's most important commodity is oil, so they're going to know what they're talking about. So global oil demand will recover significantly next month, climbing to be within 10% of the level that the world saw prior to the COVID pandemic. Russia Energy Minister Alexander Novak said on Thursday. This guy, he drinks vodka for breakfast. Wouldn't want to mess with that guy. That demand, according to Novak, was off by 25% in April compared to demand levels before the virus hit, causing a major lockdowns the world over, including the world's top. You've heard this story over and over again. Yesterday, OPEC agreed to relax August 1st production cuts that had set for a couple of months. So they're looking at reinstating 2 million barrels per day, okay, to the markets, okay? And so quite simply, they're going to introduce 2 million a day because they see oil prices are about to go up, okay? And so their goal is to keep oil prices around $40 to $50 a barrel to keep shale unprofitable. And they are winning the war. It's unbelievable that their actions can affect the American economy, and they are thousands of miles away. And so they're controlling us right now. And, I like Trump. I voted for the guy, but he didn't know what to do when it came to the oil and gas industry. All he knew is to grow it. And I was preaching this for years. I was like, look, you're building a house of cards with the shale industry because you started it when oil prices were triple digit and you were on premium leases, and you can't develop that much shale without being in a scenario just like this. And even if COVID-19 didn't happen, we would eventually had been here, okay? And so the shale oil and gas game is coming to a head. We are about to see a decrease, and that once that decline really starts to kick in here in the next 30 to 90 days, you're really going to start seeing it drop. And it's just like what Art Berman is saying, by 2021, we're going to see a decrease of 8 million barrels a day. And what do you think that's going to do to oil prices? I'll let you guess, because the green energy lovers and the Democrats are going to attack me for it. All right, guys, I'm Sean Pruitt, president of Kingdom Exploration. If you like these videos, please subscribe to my channel. Until next time, we'll talk soon. Thanks.